everybody, and welcome to this week's Motivation Assist podcast. I'm very excited about the podcast today because I'm joined by a client from our Swords Clinic, Gary. Gary, thank you so much for coming in today. We really appreciate it. And I think for you men listeners out there particularly, you have Gary to thank for our recent men's podcast and some men's helping men in general. Because Gary, you were in our Swords Clinic, and I think just a while back, the girls gave me the feedback that you gave some lovely constructive criticism that a lot of our material seemed to be geared toward women, which for sure, we would always have said it was a case 70% of clients coming into the clinics were women, and that would have been the reason. But more and more men are coming into the clinics now. So we took on board, thank you again so much, your feedback. And hence we have done a couple of podcasts, the last 2 or 3 with Robbie, who's a consultant and manager here. And we are delighted to have you join us today to give your version of your experience, another man's experience. So thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. Delighted to be here. Thanks.
So tell us, we'll go back to the beginning, Gary. What encouraged you to pick up the phone and come into motivation in the first place?
I suppose 2 reasons, Aisling. One, my own health, and secondly, the health of one of my daughters, to be honest. She had a few issues herself, and myself and my wife were looking around at ways to help her, and my wife actually came across motivation, and I decided, having had an experience of a weight loss program previously, but over a decade previously, I said to her that if she would go herself, that I would go along with her to support her. So we both started back in January of 2018. And coupled with that, I had been diagnosed with high blood pressure, and I'd been on blood pressure medication for about 2.5 years at that point. So I suppose that was in the back of my mind as well. So they were the 2 reasons that I went initially, as I say, really just to support my daughter. But I suppose from very early on in the program, it just clicked with me, to be honest, and I've kept at it.
Super. And I'm looking, Gary, at your mental weight report here. I have your very first copy, so back in on the 20th of January, and your actual weight was 22 stone 1 pound. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And your mental weight, which is what our program is really all about, was 20 stone. So that would suggest that your habits, behaviours and attitudes, that you at the time were thinking and behaving like somebody who was 20 stone. So how did you feel when you saw that report?
I suppose shocked, taken aback a wee bit. I'm not, I'm somebody who kind of tends to sort of drift along on the surface and not really get stuck into very deep thinking. And the mental weight questionnaire, I suppose, really from the very beginning got me thinking about, what were the reasons behind, or what were the issues that were underlying my weight loss, because I didn't want to be overweight. I mean, I've never wanted to be overweight. Who does? I suppose when it was explained to me exactly what it did mean and what the program meant, that was a surprise, because I wouldn't have in my own head, I wouldn't have considered myself as having an issue or having a problem beyond the visual, I suppose, of the weight, and then obviously laterally, the doctor's advice, he didn't say to me to lose weight, but obviously having been on the blood pressure medication, that was clearly an issue.
Okay. And then your report today, your actual weight is now 1512. Is that correct?
No,
lighter.
15.5.
Oh wow! Even since you've lost weight, even so, well done. Yeah. And your mental weight is 13 stone 8 pounds. So, do you think that suggests that you're thinking and behaving like a much healthier person?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if I look back at my as you say, my behaviour now compared to 15 or 16 months ago, I'm playing indoor football once or twice a week. I'm in the gym a couple of times. I came here this morning and I ran up the 3 flights of stairs. It never even occurred to me to get into the lift. So you know the benefits, and it's something that Catherine and Swords, who I'm with, obviously we go through it each week at the 1-to-1 sessions. You know, what are the benefits? And the benefits are that I can run up 3 flights of stairs and come in and sit down and have a normal conversation without having to take 5 minutes to catch my breath. So I am absolutely acting like somebody, like a completely different person to what I was 15 months ago. So it's a fantastic result. It's a great way to feel, and it's
brilliant.
I'm energized. I mean, people ask me, you know, oh God, you must have so much energy, etc. I do. I mean, looking back 2 years ago, I would fall asleep in front of the chair, or front of the TV rather, in the chair, practically every evening. You know, 8 or 9 o'clock, I would have to be nudged to wake up or whatever. I occasionally fall asleep in front of the TV now, but it's transformed. It's completely different. So you know the behavior is different, and the way, you know, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, or it's whatever way it goes round and round in circles. I mean, the weight loss allows me to be far more active, which in turn has me losing more weight. I'm still losing, which is great.
Brilliant.
You know, allows me to do all sorts of other bits and pieces. I mean, I'm heavily involved in I have 5 daughters. 4 of them play on the local ladies football team, GAA, and I'm training them, I'm managing them, and I'm out as often as they are. So, and I'm now able to run along with them and keep up with them. So it's super.
Wonderful. Was that that's interesting you say that, because I don't know if you think back, if you can remember to the week 2, and we have you've discussed with me before the handouts that you did fill in the handouts, and there's a lot of support tools, obviously. Can you remember? On week 2, there's a goal sheet, and we ask clients to write down why they want to lose weight, what are the benefits going to be, and we talk about a movie visualization. So if you can remember, take yourself back then. Can you remember what was your goal? Were you thinking at the time, I want to be able to run with my daughters, I want to be able to be fitter?
My goal was to come off the blood pressure medication,
mainly, okay,
which I've done.
Brilliant, well done.
And I suppose I saw all of the other goals, because I wrote down other things on that as ancillary to that, which was to be able to, you know, go back and play football. I mean, I used to play football as a kid. You know, to be able to go out. We have a daddies versus daughters sort of fun GA match on Stevens's Day or whatever, and I had gone out and I managed to play in goal because there wasn't an awful lot of running involved or whatever. But I wanted to go out and run around like a mad thing, and I'm doing that now. So
brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
You know, I wanted to, you know, I wanted to shop in Tommy Hilfiger. I wanted to shop in, you know, my shopping consisted of going to outlet malls in America. You know, when I would be in the States a couple of times a year for work or for fun. And going into the big and tall shops and or whatever, and enjoying that, because I wasn't even getting the biggest sizes in there, but the sizes were all very, very big. I wouldn't go anywhere near Levi's or Gant or Tommy Hilfiger, and now I'm doing that.
Brilliant. And you look so different. When I walked into the room to meet you just a while back, I had to look twice, because the before photo I have here is unbelievable, and I mean, you look so much younger, healthier, fitter, but this is a different man I'm looking at here. Do you find people pass you by or look at you twice? Yes. Or
yeah, it's fun. It is enjoyable. I won't deny it. I had one as recently as last night, a guy I hadn't seen since before I started the program, and he came over to me and said that he'd been looking at me from across the pitch. It was down at the pitch, to say, God, that guy looks like Gary. And then finally realised that it is Gary. So people passing in the shops who I've had to go over. One woman I met in the gym who I actually had to go over to introduce myself to her, and she said it was only when I started talking that she realised who I was. She just, even when I said, oh, it's Gary, like, you know, Granny's dad or whatever from school, she just said, I just didn't recognise you at all. She had to really think.
It's an amazing transformation. Tell me a little bit, Gary, how you found the one-to-one consultations and the, you know, coming in weekly. Did you find that helped?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, discipline does work, and I mean that sounds a bit OTT or whatever, but by discipline I mean the fact that I know I'm going in every Saturday, which is my day, for a weigh-in. Okay, I missed the odd one because of personal reasons or holidays or whatever, but I don't want to be looking at the scales. I don't want, and I appreciate. I'm quite interested to the numbers as well. I know I'm not just a scales watcher. I'd be lying if I said I'm disappointed. But the odd time where I have gone up, and even though I've gone up in perhaps muscle or whatever, and the fat has still come down, I'd still kind of say I'm still a little bit cheesed off about that, but. Not so much now. Back at the start, I was very much scales watching and very focused on the number or whatever. But thinking I remember listening to your podcast with Robbie there recently, thinking about the why about it and the science behind it or whatever, and even looking at recent things in the media. The Operation Transformation, for example, that they were doing that, and poor Leo was very, very upset that
metabolic age
and all that kind of stuff. So I do enjoy. I take an interest in all of that. So I've over the course of the year, I have very much moved away from just looking at the scales and wanting to know what, the fat content, the visceral fat content has been hugely important to me as well.
Great.
That it's not something you can see, but I always felt that was an issue, and that I'm delighted with that result. That's come massively down now, below average, which is great. The one-on-one stuff, it's good. It's a different experience for me because I have done something previously, which was in a group setting, and in a men-only group setting, and I would have said I would have enjoyed that because there was a bit of slagging and a bit of banter and that kind of stuff because it was just men, and Catherine obviously is a woman, but that doesn't bother me in the slightest. I enjoy that one-on-one. I think I enjoy that rapport that we've built up over the year, and that we know a little bit about each other personally or whatever. That's fun. That's enjoyable. We talk about family and that kind of stuff. And we're in a routine where we go through the various aspects of the questions, the weigh-in, the discussing the mental weight questionnaire if it's that time, doing measurements and things like that. So I think I'll be honest and say I don't know whether that's the fact that it's a one-on-one as opposed to a group setting has made an enormous difference to me personally. The program itself, the focus on behavior changing, the fact that this is a lifestyle issue for me, as I've said to anybody, lots of people rather throughout the journey have said to me, what's it like on the diet? What's the diet like? And my answer after 2 weeks has been, I'm not on a diet. This is, I really genuinely do not feel like, I've never felt like I'm on a diet. Whereas my previous experience, absolutely I was on a diet. Diet, deprivation, avoiding things, avoiding situations where I would be put in temptation's way. And that's completely different with my experience with motivation. And I'm quite shocked about that, to be honest. And I mean, I do, people still ask me. My wife occasionally says to me, do you know what I mean? How has it really been? Because she knows me so well. And the answer is it's been remarkably easy. And I mean, I'm so hesitant to even use the word easy because I don't want to give people the impression that, if success doesn't come within a fortnight, I should give it up. But it really has, looking back on me, it's been really, something that's worked super well for me. And I've found quite... I'm struggling to think of a word other than easy, but I found it quite good to work with, and I've been rewarded by the effort I've put in. But I mean, I haven't killed myself, whereas I really felt in the other program that I was killing. I was putting in massive effort to get even small little rewards or small little results rather, and that has to be the. For me, the difference is it's the motivational aspect. It's and I wouldn't even not necessarily use that word. It's the behavioral aspect to it. It's the changing my habits from not eating a breakfast, not eating at all during the day, really. Having a big dinner and then eating again, maybe at 10 o'clock late at night. To completely changing that to having a small breakfast, a protein bar or half a protein bar mid-morning, a small lunch, a normal size, or say normal, a dinner that would be 25% of the volume of food that I would have eaten previously at that time, and then not being hungry, not feeling I have to eat anything. I'd have a cup of tea and maybe another half a protein bar at 8 o'clock at night is my routine. But that's the big difference for me. It's the behavioural side of things.
Brilliant. And here is the big question, and I don't know if you heard Robbie talking about this. We were our last podcast with regard to the habit side, with regard to the attitude side and emotional eating and emotions that comes up. How was that for you as a man, talking about emotions? And
never something. I've listened to that podcast. Never something I really struggled with, to be honest. I don't know whether it's living with 6 women for the last 20 years. I have 5 daughters, or perhaps just the way I was brought up. But I mean, I've never been somebody who's been out of touch with my emotions. I've been quite comfortable talking about how I feel, quite comfortable about shedding a tear every now and again. I suppose for me, and going back to what got me started on the program. I was very, very stressed out at work. I mean, I'm a sole trader. I have my own business. I took on too much work. I got completely het up. I mean, there was probably an element of depression in it as well. And that fed into and led into the high blood pressure, led into the medication, etc. Now I got on top of it, but I didn't have a problem talking to friends of mine, talking to family about what I was going through, and talking to an uncle of mine who's in a similar business and would have been a mentor to me throughout my early career or whatever. And that wasn't difficult. So I suppose maybe that's not something that really twigged with me in terms of emotional eating. I never really felt the need to, I suppose, retreat or hide away in food if I'm feeling down or rubbishy or whatever.
What about perfectionism?
Perfectionism
That came up on your report.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Huge perfectionist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that all or nothing? And
I think it probably would have been. I think now I'm a little bit more balanced. I would hope I'm a little bit more balanced. And maybe that's to do with getting a bit older as well. I turned 50 there at the end of last year, and that was another great milestone. That was a great reveal, a fantastic night. I mean, again, a lot of people had a big party, and a lot of people who hadn't seen me since I started, and that was great fun in terms of that sort of a transformation. But I think now. I think now I'm a lot more balanced on that. Both at work, both in personal life, both even in sort of leisure time, in terms of I say I'm back playing football, play indoor soccer every week, and I would have started off absolutely finishing the hour-long session raging at myself if I hadn't if I'd missed an opportunity, or if I hadn't got back down the hall quick enough or whatever. And now 9 months after starting that, I'm not coming out raging with myself. I'm delighted. I've had a great run out. I've had a great bit of exercise. The heart rate is up. I'm recovering quite quickly, and it's another tick in the box in terms of activity for the week that I've really enjoyed or whatever. And I'm not focused on, oh God, you missed that sitter, or you missed an opportunity or whatever. So I think it has changed, definitely.
Super. Lots of changes there. So what would you say to finish up to our listeners then, Gary, out there who are thinking about losing weight? What's the best piece of advice that you would give to them?
I think in the context of doing a program, I think for me, what I would be saying is to really give a program, obviously such as motivation, a chance, to give it an opportunity to make a change for you, because particularly the motivation side of things, it isn't just about starving yourself eating as little as humanly possible and getting up on a scales every week and seeing the number go down. I mean, the issue for me, to be frank now, is, I mean, I'm close. I'm very close. I'm almost at, target weight, if you want to call it that, or where I want to get at. I'm delighted with what I've achieved. But the challenge for me now is going to be keeping it off. And, if I had done something by way of either a program that was just all about, diet, and I mean that in terms of, what you eat, and then I could see myself absolutely drifting back. I did that before, I think you need the support of a program that is about changing your behavior, changing your lifestyle, changing the way you go through your day, so that when you get to the weight you want to get to, and you've achieved that success, is that you need a structure around you to make sure that you continue that and it doesn't just pile back on again. So my advice would be to give a program a chance, because it is more than just, in my experience, as I say, having done it and having lost 5 stone on the previous program and put it all back on again, I think within about 6 or 8 months, it is more than just watching what you're eating, being on a diet, not eating sugar and sweets and fizzy drinks, etc. But it is more about the structure, so that you want to live the rest of your life.
And it is for life.
It is for life, precisely.
Absolutely. So hence our maintenance program. So you've a few pounds to go, and then we'll talk about maintenance. Look forward to seeing you on maintenance. But certainly in the meantime, we're going to finish off on that. I honestly cannot thank you enough for bringing up the topic of male listeners, information for males. Thank you again for that.
You're welcome.
And I just wish that guys out there, you could see the difference. Maybe we might look at doing it before and after if you're happy with it, because it is absolutely amazing. Best of all, you're healthier off your blood pressure medication. And I think well done, because you totally embraced the program. You obviously did all the work as well. So thank you so much for coming in. And listeners, I hope you enjoy that. I've no doubt. I love Gary's honesty. Thank you for your honesty. And I've no doubt that he's inspired a lot of you listeners. So thank you, Gary. Take care.
Thanks.